Hey everyone, welcome to another video. On this one, I want you to join me out in the field while I was running a private workshop. When I run these, one of the best ways to approach the landscape is to stay entirely flexible and just react and adapt to the weather and the light. And we were very fortunate to get a snowstorm roll in, and of course, I wanted to get the guys amongst it. So we headed into the mountains and also into the forest. Now, this is a location which you've seen me photograph before, but it is always amazing and always something new to find in the forest. So I've got some footage here to show you guys when we're out in the field, and then I'll show you some of the images at the end and talk about the compositional approach and the processing as well. Thank you so much for your support. All right, let's go. Up we go. I've just got all the layers there and the balance. I've gone F16, 50th of a second, ISO 100. Well, it's been a beautiful morning with the boys coming up the mountain. Fresh snow, mountain vistas, and now making our way into the lush forest, absolutely covered by snow. Come in here, you've got less light, so it's a bit easier. Nothing better than a bit of coffee, warm coffee in the snow. Oh, it doesn't matter how bad the coffee is, it's going to taste good here. Doesn't matter how many times we come up here, guys. It just takes your breath away. It's always different. Nice natural archway, framing up that tree. Well, I found something here I really like. It's quite simple, but this lone branch right in the middle, beautiful subject. And then on the left we have this natural frame left and right. And this is the shot here, being a bit tighter, so I'm not really getting the sun star in. Just this little window here, and just making sure I've got that separation so it's not getting blended into the side trees there. That is the moments that we live for, right? As landscape photographers, the pinnacle really. It's just so overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, it is incredibly, it's difficult in the sense that it is so beautiful. There's images everywhere, but it's hard to really see the image when there's unlimited potential. So it's having the ability to slow down and really ask yourself, okay, what is it that I'm enjoying here? And then how do I simplify this chaos that is the forest and put that into a single frame? I really like using the darkness in order to do that, in order to lead the eye towards light. I'm looking for more shade than there is light. 2 images which I ended up keeping. This one here, I like the way that the trees were kind of reaching up. I've kind of angled the composition in order to have the eye just run through and essentially finish in that centralized area where there's like a trident shape with that tree. And then this frame as well, similar approach with the composition. See how everything is curving and flowing to somewhat lead the eye in that centralized area. Having trees on the edge of the frame is like bookends, so the eye won't drift off into that open space. The backlight, I just love shooting forests with backlight or side light. That way we're getting predominant shade within the scene, and then smaller portions of light. You heard me say in the video to the guys, you know, come over here, it's easier, there's less light. When you have a lot of light, it's very tricky. So we're using predominant shade in order to lead the eye to the sections of light, just the smaller amounts. So you don't want too much light in your frame. I'll show you, this is the raw file on this one here. So we'll reset the raw, the edit, very backlit, lots of shadow. You can see the histogram there. I've shot to basically protect the highlights that we're getting up here. And then if I reapply, so a lot of it's raising up the exposure, recovering highlights, recovering shadows, a little bit of grading to warm things up. You can see I've warmed up those highlights, and then I've cooled down the midtones a bit. So I want to keep that natural cool and warm contrast that we have within these scenes. This mountain image ended up being one of my favorite of the year, to be honest, because of the vast snow coverage that you have. To get that on the trees, then into the mountain scene with that beautiful light. And this little composition here that I found, I just really enjoyed having the layering and sense of depth. I purposely included the snow on the ground down here, then leading into the bushes, the trees, all those beech trees there covered, and then off into that vast mountain vista in the background. You can see I've got the peak rising up into that centralized area, and thankfully we had the light just in that background section too. Look at the raw file on this one. The main thing that I've done is just warm up those highlights. You can see, bang, that's the original. And then if we reapply the editing, just warming up those highlights, you can see that there in the grading. You can see the power of color grading. The highlights were already warm, and when I apply the grading, I'll just reduce it here. You can already see there is a yellow tint up there, and it just depends on your camera's white balance, the color profile, how it's going to look. It was definitely warmer to the eye, and the camera profile I have does naturally warm up the highlights a little bit as well, the vivid profile. So getting the raw file back, it definitely looked a little too cool for my liking, particularly back in the distance where you've got warm, soft morning light. So warming the highlights was key, and you can see it doesn't take much just to bring a hint of warmth into the image, and you can see the overall result here, just getting that nice warm glow throughout the frame. I love the depth and layering there, and it was just an absolutely enjoyable morning. It's a pleasure to get some of that footage and share it with you guys. Couldn't do much talking on the camera because I'm busy teaching in the field. That's a priority, but I'm glad I filmed some of that anyway. Thank you so much for checking out the YouTube channel, guys. It's always a pleasure. Lots more coming next week and moving on into the new year, so I look forward to sharing that with you. If you have any questions or ideas for the channel, please leave them below. I appreciate your support. It means a lot, and I'll see you soon.